I don't ask you any reply, but I was just puzzled by the fact that the applicant, who were so keen to plead about gender equality, didn't abide by one of the rules of the court, recommending gender balance within the pleading teams. So I hope that in the future, this rule will be fully respected by the teams. Thank you very much.
Oh, I see. Yes, it is. I'm going to say a few words and just hand over to the Honourable Commissioner here, who I'm looking forward to listening to. I've been asked to say a few words about the renaming of this International Human Rights Moot competition. Coming from South Africa, I've had the privilege of seeing this effort, at least in our country and then later in the African continent, growing to this level. For all my sins, I've been invited from time to time to come and preside in moot competitions in both South Africa and in Africa in general. And then Nelson Mandela comes into it. Our beloved, departed leader and president. Like Mahatma Gandhi perhaps should have said, my life is my story. Look at my life and you would know what values I would like to see humanity embrace. You need no lecture on Mr. Mandela whatsoever. In another capacity, unrelated to this, I happen to be one of the 3 executors in the estate of Mr. Nelson Mandela. And I can hear his words quite clearly in my ears. Dikgang, when I am not here, will you look after my estate? So one has got that rare privilege of spending a bit of time with him on Robben Island and then becoming a judge many years later, and then ultimately being able to step into that particular role personally asked by him. So it's a very rare privilege indeed to live a life next to somebody so distinguished, so dedicated, and so special. So when these executors and his family were asked whether this could be named after him, they were truly ecstatic. And they are not unmindful of the honor coming from your office, Commissioner, and coming from the organizers of this moot competition. And Mrs. Gracia Michelle and others have asked me to come and convey a very special gratitude for this honor, and hope that it will stay as a flickering little light for young people, and that our conduct can make a difference in the world. And what he did for us, and hopefully what he did for the African continent and for the world, has been one incredible message of eternal hope about the human condition that would forever try to improve. So we are delighted and grateful and very honored and humbled by the decision to name this, and we hope moot court after Mr. Mandela, and that this will continue to inspire many, many young people of all hues, all people, all over the world, because his message was not only peace and reconciliation and forgiveness, but also inclusivity. He insisted that we must revel in our diversity in South Africa and try and find unity in that diversity. Thank you for doing it for him, and I'm sure his family would be very well pleased for what you have done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Moseneke. High Commissioner, with your permission, I would like to say a few words of thanks before we invite you to address us. We are grateful as organizers to the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, which is the co-organizer of this World Moot Court. From its inception 6 years ago, the dynamic and charming Ms. Yanin Pok, who is the head of the Southern Africa Regional Office of OHCHR, has availed us of her personal support and has facilitated the connection with the mother body OHCHR in Geneva and has given us technical and financial support. Organizing something like this on this kind of scale is a great feat, I dare say, of courage and endurance. I would like, therefore, to single out two people from OHCHR whose seniority is surpassed only by their humility and greatness, and without whose principled and passionate support we frankly would not be here today. The first one is Mr. Eric Tistounet, who is the head of the Human Rights Council branch, and unfortunately, I believe on mission in Casablanca. And the second is Ms. Jane Connors, the director of the Research and Right to Development Division, who served as a judge today. Thank you very much. We often say that the Moot is like the Olympic Games, where participation is what counts. I'm not sure if the students believe that anymore. But like in the Olympics, we rely very much on volunteers. And in this case, there are 5 extraordinary ladies doing internships at OHCHR, and whose internships took a very queer turn when the Moot Court came to town, and they found themselves involved. They did a sterling job as bailiffs, and I would like to thank them now: Laura, Iona, Rosaline, Ellie, and Lydia. Finally, let me single out one person who coordinated literally hundreds of different practical tasks to produce this outstanding result. Without her blend of professionalism, competence, and charm, we would have been completely lost in this new and very big UN system. Her attention to detail is outstanding, and her efficiency is truly breathtaking. She often walks a tightrope between major competing issues and has always been available to us. It's been a great privilege to work with someone of her caliber. Her name is Kervina Paini Andy. Mr. High Commissioner, sir, organizing an event such as this one is a complex and demanding task. Allow me, therefore, to congratulate you on your extraordinary staff. Let me thank you on behalf of all the participants and my colleagues for the support that your office brings to this important initiative, and let me say how much we look forward to our continued collaboration. If I may, I would like to thank the donors. This Moot is a very costly exercise, and which is made possible by their generous financial support. This funding helps us transform our ideas into actions that resonate all over the world. And this is a time of dwindling resources and many competing interests. It therefore takes vision to see the value of an educational initiative such as this one, and to make an investment that will yield profitable returns over a period of time. The following organizations have been generous with us: the 3 permanent members' missions to the United Nations at Geneva, the permanent mission of the Swiss Federation, the permanent mission of Ireland, and the permanent mission of South Africa. In addition, we have also received funding from the Geneva Center for Human Rights Advancement and Global Dialogue, and the regional office of OHCHR in Southern Africa. We are also proud to thank the following 3 institutions which agreed to join this initiative as technical partners and who continue to help us as we build the World Moot into a leader in its field with high academic standards: the Geneva Academy for International Humanitarian Law and Human Rights, the University of Lucerne, specifically the Chair of Comparative and Anglo-American Law, as well as the Lucerne Academy for Human Rights Implementation, and finally, the Geneva Center for Human Rights Advancement and Global Dialogue. For all the idealism that underpins the World Moot competition, organizing it is a singular challenge which requires the expertise and effort of a number of gifted individuals, such as those who I am privileged to work with at the Center for Human Rights. I want to thank those who are not here, and specifically those who are: Pumeza, Tuto, Yolanda, Armand, Yolandi, and Willem. I would also like to thank Professor Christoph Haynes, former director of the Center for Human Rights and UN Special Rapporteur for extrajudicial summary or arbitrary executions, or as someone now calls him, Special Rapporteur for all kinds of terrible things. His guidance and his encouragement has helped us to get to where we are. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the Center for Human Rights exists and operates within the Faculty of Law at the University of Pretoria. This is a very big university. It has 6 campuses, 9 faculties and a business school, 85 centers and institutes, 140 departments, and more than 1,800 academic programs with over 60,000 students. We are one center, one academic department, one moot court program. We are therefore greatly privileged to enjoy the institutional support that we get from the University of Pretoria, which helps our programs fit into the broader landscape of a leading academic institution dedicated to the ideals of excellence and innovation in teaching and research. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Cheryl Delarey, who arrived in Geneva literally a couple of hours ago and came straight here from the airport. Thank you, ma'am, for the great honor that you do to us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and pleasure to invite Mr. Zaid Rad Al Hussein, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, to address us. Thank you.
President Moseneke, distinguished judges, distinguished Vice Chancellor, dear friends and participants. When I look back at my professional career, there were 2 highlights to it, and both concerned not a human rights court, but the International Court of Justice. And I had the great honor and privilege of pleading twice before the court in 2004 and in 2008. And of course, the preparation had to be exquisite, and eventually the delivery had to be impeccable. But I learned a couple of things in my first pleading, or really one lesson, and I thought I'd share 2 anecdotes with you. The first is that as we were waiting for Judge or Justice Ouguergouz to come with the justices, or to open up the chamber, and the judges walked in, I was sitting there fidgeting with the different points I was going to make. And I had foolishly kept my cell phone on. So the phone rang, and like a crazy person, I answered it. And I was within minutes of making my pleading, and I answered the phone. And someone said to me, Ambassador, and I said, yes. They said, we are the Armed Forces Radio of Jordan. We need to do an interview with you in 20 seconds, quickly before the pleading begins. And I said, I don't have time, please. The judges are just about to arrive, and I need to concentrate. He said, no. He said, we're going on air. So he said, then in Arabic, he was saying, we now welcome the head of the delegation who's at the ICJ about to make his pleading. And they said to me, they said, can you tell us what it's like at the court? And I said to him, have you ever been in a court? And he said, yes. I said, it's like that. And I closed the phone. And then of course, the judges all came in, and the president of the court was a very distinguished judge, but quite elderly. And so he invited me to make my pleading. So I went up. Well, first of all, he had to go through my name, which is terribly long. And so he said, I now invite Zaid, Raed, Zaid, and then he had to look around, and then he said Al-Hussein to make his pleading. And as I was going up to speak, for a second, I thought maybe what I should say is, Mr. President, I can assure you my pleading will be shorter than my name. But I knew instinctively it would be catastrophic if I did that. And so the lesson that I learned before making any pleading is that the discipline has to be absolutely iron, because you can be so distracted by other thoughts or by reporters or journalists calling you. Now, it's been a real pleasure to have you amongst us and to watch so many bright minds from every region of the world grappling with human rights advocacy. And of course, I'd like to thank the University of Pretoria for organizing this impressive competition together with my own staff and for the creativity in drawing up its brief. The President mentioned how talented you all are, and this gives us a great deal of encouragement and hope. But I must say it also gives us a little bit of dread, because it won't be long before you'll be forcing us out of our jobs. So slow down a little bit, a little bit. To the winners of this joust, the eventual winners, it'll be announced very soon, let me say that I am very proud of your victory. Your knowledge and oratory would have been remarkable, and I think many of us, and I can speak on behalf of everyone here, would have been inspired by the energy and skill of your arguments. The question of Koptistan's culture and politics is, of course, a fictional argument, but it is also a very serious one. It involves the subjugation of women, of half the human beings on this earth. It involves the domination of a minority people and the outbreak of armed violence, resulting in displacement of families to squalid camps, violence against women, and the repression of protest. Virginia Woolf said, "Fiction is like a spider's web, attached ever so slightly perhaps, but still attached to life at all four corners." The events of Koptistan are very solidly anchored in the reality of many countries. Human rights violations are not random, they're not accidents. They are generally the consequence of political, economic, and social and cultural inequalities that create obstacles to the fair sharing of opportunities and resources, and which limit freedom and participation. The overwhelming majority of victims of human rights abuses around the world share two characteristics: deprivation and discrimination, whether it is based on race or ethnicity, sex, beliefs, caste, or class. From hunger to rape or other forms of torture, human rights violations are rooted in these hidden and sometimes not so hidden factors. Indeed, if we look deeply, we may see that these factors are not spontaneously generated. Many, perhaps most, violations of human rights result from legislative or policy choices, not just in Koptistan, but in real life. When they agreed to the UN Charter almost 70 years ago, states pledged to achieve better standards of life and larger freedom. They agreed to cooperate in solving international problems of an economic, social, cultural, and humanitarian character, and in promoting and encouraging respect for human rights and for fundamental freedoms for all, without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. And yet today, human rights activists, and we can now count you amongst us, face many challenges. With so many crises and conflicts, the world's attention span skitters and jumps from one to another. Too many of us are becoming desensitized to pain. The violence and the adversity that so many of our fellow human beings face has led us to become almost numb. It takes a flash of a really extreme and grotesque this word, I never can get it right. So that's why you have to practice before you do these things. Grotesque abomination, that's it. It'll come. It'll come. Even I can make mistakes in this position. Grotesque abomination, and that is a video of a person being beheaded with a kitchen knife, for us to be brought up short by the shock of violence. We need to revive our sense of common humanity. We need to reestablish the simple fact that every human being, women or woman, man or child, from every part of the world, every community, every belief, every background has exactly the same human rights as everybody else. They are universal and inalienable, indivisible, interdependent, and interrelated. When the rights of one amongst us are denied, the rights of all of us are wounded. Those rights include the right to freedom of expression, opinion, and belief, the right to participate in decision-making, the right to make choices about her or his own life, the right to adequate food and water, and clean water, of course, and to decent health care and other vital services, the right to peaceful protest, the right to education, to access to justice, to make reproductive and sexual choices, the right to lives that are free from want and fear. States must be willing to protect the human rights of their people, and people must be able to hold the state responsible. This moot court, of course, is named after, as the President has said, Nelson Mandela, that mighty activist and lawyer who risked his own life on numerous occasions to bring freedom, equality, dignity, and human rights to the people of South Africa. I am proud that OHCHR has supported this moot court, which is now 6 years old. And I'm also glad that today is the first time that the closing contest takes place here in Geneva. And I think you'll all agree that its setting in the Human Rights and Alliance of Civilizations room of the Palais des Nations is particularly fitting. Today is, as you know, Human Rights Day, when we renew our commitment to promoting and protecting human rights for everyone. I trust that we can count on you to help us do that work because you have worked extremely hard and argued very ably in the matter of Coptistan, but it was not a jest. It was, as you must have realized by now, an exercise to sharpen your evident knowledge and skills as lawyers and perhaps leaders in human rights. In the future, your advocacy may be vitally important to the people of your countries, and you have shown us your mettle, and you will doubtless face many challenges, but we count on you to join our work to bring enjoyment of human rights to everyone 365 days a year. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, High Commissioner. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move into another phase of the closing ceremony. And we are very conscious of the time and that we have a limited time with the High Commissioner. We want to make as much of it as possible, so please bear with me if we go flying through a few things. We would like to present the participants with certificates of participation, which have been signed by all the judges. And for that, I would like to invite Professor Cheryl Delaray and Professor Christoph Haynes to hand out these certificates of participation. If you would come down to the first level here. And then for the teams, if you don't mind that you would come fairly swiftly, I will call you out by university. So from Argentina, Universidad de Buenos Aires. And then just behind them from Australia, University of New South Wales. Okay. And then we can have the university from Belarus, Belarusian State University coming through. And then from Greece, Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. From India, Hidayatullah National Law University. From Indonesia, Universitas Gadjah Mada. From Kenya, Moi University. Also from Kenya, Strathmore University. From Poland, Nikolaus Copernicus University. From Singapore, the National University of Singapore. From Slovenia, University of Ljubljana. From South Africa, the University of Fort Hare. And finally, from Switzerland itself, the University of Lucerne. Thank you very much. Thank you. High Commissioner and our visitors, this moot court happens in 3 different stages, and the results that I will now announce follow those stages. In the very first part, universities from all over the world are invited to register, and they send written memorials. These are the written arguments. These are marked by a panel of experts, and then the best ones move through to the final round, to the next round. So I will now announce the top memorials for this year. The top 3, in 3rd position was Gadjah Mada University in Indonesia. The 2nd best, University of Fort Hare, South Africa. And the university which had the best memorials in that first round is the University of New South Wales in Australia. I would like to invite Professor Robert Roth to hand over the prize for the best memorial, and invite the 2 students to come and receive this prize. Thank you. And then the second phase of the competition is that these, the teams with the best memorials, there are 3 from each UN region, they are invited to Geneva to take part in what we call the pre-final rounds, where they argue the case, all of them, twice for the applicant, twice for the respondent. And in a simple calculation then of the marks that they receive, I will announce the top 5 teams. In 5th position, it's Hidayatullah University in India. Number 4, the National University of Singapore. Number 3, Moi University in Kenya. Number 2, University of Lucerne in Switzerland. And the top university from the pre-final rounds, the University of New South Wales in Australia. In the course of these pre-final rounds, students are scored individually for their oral presentations. And so I will announce the top 3 best individual oralists. In third position, from the University of New South Wales in Australia, Ms. Taneja Ashna. In second position, from the University of Lucerne in Switzerland, Ms. Monica Alnes. And the best oralist from these rounds is from the University of New South Wales, Australia, Mr. Sumer Dayal. Please, may I invite Ms. Jane Connors to hand over this prize. Yes, yeah, please go. Yeah. Thank you very much. And now, just before the final round, with your permission, High Commissioner, I cannot hold myself back. As I look at the watch, I really would like to say a few things, because this Moot is a personal story for me as well. I was a very young and starry-eyed a young man in 95 when I first attended the Moot Court in Pretoria. That was the year when it transitioned from being a Southern African event to an all-African event. And the following year, I volunteered to organize it in Morocco. Then I was invited to join the center, and I did a master's degree, and I just never left. I've been involved in the Moot Court now for 20 years. It's my 18th year of formal employment, and I'm still in my first job. Let me assure you that the likes of Tiger Woods, I think, have nothing on me. I'm really passionate about what I do, which is why I ask for your indulgence if I say a few short words to the young people here who I consider my younger brothers and sisters. These annual gatherings offer us a chance to look back at the year that has elapsed since our last meeting. Eritrea and North Korea continue to be open-air jails. Hundreds of boat people die at sea every month, so desperate that they are to get away from poverty and political oppression. And the saber rattling in Ukraine has raised the specter of a return to the Cold War. Corruption blights development efforts all over the world. We hold this Moot Court in the shadow of Al-Qaeda, of ACME, of Al-Shabaab, and Boko Haram, all different manifestations of a misguided band of criminals who slaughter, rape, and pervert religion with cowardly courage and conviction. We also hold this Moot in the shadow of the Ebola outbreak, for whose victims and their families we spare a thought also at this time. One worrying global phenomenon which we are witnessing is a worsening case for LGBTI persons. More and more countries are considering repressive laws, and the public discourse is growing more and more antagonistic, belligerent, and intolerant, often due to the role of religious groups and leaders. This is one of the questions, I think, that will define our generation. Discrimination humiliates, it dehumanizes, and it destroys people. And the thing that we are struggling for is very simple. If we say that we are equal as human beings, then, as President Barack Obama so rightly said, the love that we profess for each other should be equal as well. It's really as simple as that. Nelson Mandela called you the leaders, judges, and teachers of tomorrow. Let the things you have done during this week once again serve as a living example of how we can work together to find common solutions to our common problems. Indeed, yet another way in which our world has changed since we were last together is that Nelson Mandela, the world's favorite human rights lawyer, has finished his journey and passed the baton on to us on the 5th of December last year. Many of us rise and sleep under the blanket of the freedom that he and others like him fought for. Words like human rights, dignity, equality, and freedom are for many of us a punchline. Nice words that we use in fancy speeches like this one. But for Mandela and his ilk, they are the backbone of a life spent defending something. Failing to act and failing to follow in the footsteps of people like Mr. Mandela makes us complicit in many of the wrongdoings that we often complain about. We have a collective responsibility to uphold, defend, and protect the values that we hold dear. I think the Lebanese poet Khalil Gibran puts it so well when he says, "And as a single leaf turns not yellow, but with the silent knowledge of the whole tree, so the wrongdoer cannot do wrong without the hidden will of you all." You, young people, you are the pride of your families, the honor of your universities, the ambassadors of your countries, and the hope of a generation. You embody much that is good about the world. You represent a lot of what is possible in our lifetime. You are the new world renaissance in flesh and form. And when you gather, especially in the cause of human rights, it is truly a giant that stirs. Today, the vision of our founders meets the industry of these young lawyers. With the support of their professors and the assistance of our financial and technical partners, the result is a momentum that is unstoppable, a force so strong that it cannot be chased away by tear gas or held back by prison bars. And so to them, and through them, to their families, their universities, their nations, and all our people everywhere, we say thank you and congratulations. And now for the moment that we have all been waiting for. These are the results of the final round that we have been privileged to enjoy in this wonderful venue. The rules of the competition state that if there are more than 3 judges, as indeed they were today, then the highest and the lowest scores are discarded and the average found of the remaining judges. This we have done and verified. As you know, the competition is organized by a steering committee composed of the Center for Human Rights and the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, and so they have also been verified by a representative of the OHCHR. The winning team of the 6th World Nelson Mandela World Human Rights Moot Court Competition is the joint team that argued the case for the respondent. Let me, however, begin by congratulating the runner-up team for an extraordinary performance once was just making it this far. I would like to invite the university, or Moi University in Kenya, Ms. Njeri Mwati and Ms. Kimberly Rimba, to come up and to receive the prize that is due to you. I would like to invite Judge Ouguergouz and Ambassador O'Brien to hand over these prizes. Thank you very much. And as I call up Ms. Taneja Ashna and Mr. Sumer Dayal from the University of New South Wales, Australia, I would like to invite Justice Moseneke and Your Excellency High Commissioner to hand over the winners' prizes. Thank you very much. Just before we close, there is one thank you that I forgot, and I really apologize. The judges in the pre-final rounds that took place here over the last 2 days, and which allowed us to enjoy not just Room 20, but the wider Palais des Nations, were made up of lecturers, so professors from the participating universities that we really thank for their commitment in bringing the students here and preparing them, but also on a number of volunteer judges, so staff both from the United Nations, but also from international organizations based in Geneva that gave up 2 days of their time to sit and listen to, as we say, the applicant pleading with tears in their eyes in the morning and with tears in their eyes in the evening, but who did us a great favor. They came not only from here, but from far away. I think of Rachel Irura that came from the Special Tribunal for Lebanon, all the way from The Hague. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the proceedings, the formal proceedings, and to the end of the Moot Court. Once again, High Commissioner, thank you so much for your generosity to us. Congratulations to all the teams, and we wish you a safe journey home, and hopefully to see you somewhere in the world doing great things. And I would like to invite you now outside for a cocktail that is prepared for us. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, just a last announcement. We are very fortunate. The High Commissioner says for the little time that he has left, he has graciously agreed to take a few photographs. If some of the teams would like to take pictures with him, I suggest that you take this offer up. This is your moment of to shine. So by all means, just here on the stage, you can take some pictures.